Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is a third-person action hack-and-slash game released in 2013. It tells the story of Raiden, a cyborg dispatched by the US military to dismantle a group of terrorists in the most gruesome ways seen fit. That's all the story you're going to need for this video, because we're throwing all that junk out of the window, and we're going to talk about the music of Metal Gear, and how it encapsulates the story so well with just a couple minutes of songs. Music in video games is not usually the main aspect you're supposed to take out of a scene. It helps emotional scenes be emotional, and helps action scenes make you feel like a demigod ripping your way through hordes of enemies. Music in video games rarely tells you a story. It usually complements a story. That's where the term background music, or BGM, comes from. Now of course there's music that can tell you a story, mainly coming from popular artists. Unbeknownst to popular belief, Mario is not a famous artist. But rarely, there are game soundtracks that can tell a story. Music in video games also helps establish a scene or tone. If, for example, I play this, you will most likely be able to guess the scene. Someplace hot and barren, like a desert. Or if I play this, you can think of squaring off with a mighty enemy. Just by hearing music, you can set the tone of what's about to happen. That's why music is such a big part of cinematography. For example, have you ever seen a photo montage without music? No, because music amplifies the feeling. After all that, we can start to take a look at Metal Gear. Metal Gear uses an electronic metal playlist as its BGM, but unlike other games, each Metal Gear song tells a story. Each boss of the game has its own song, like many games. Except with these songs, if you really pay attention to the lyrics, you can make out the feelings of the boss. Taking a look at one of the first bosses, Blade Wolf, this funny attack dog. Heh, just kidding, it's this terror machine. Blade Wolf is an extremely smart AI put inside of a robot. He has a neuron count of, and I'm not kidding, 90 billion. He is forced to follow orders from his superiors, or else his memory will be wiped, therefore killing him. He doesn't want to fight, but has to for self-preservation. He yearns for freedom and wants a will of his own. But you don't know this when fighting him, unless you pay attention to the music. The song is called I'm My Own Master Now. Just hearing the name, you can start putting together my point. Let's look at some of the lyrics. These lyrics tell a story of Blade Wolf being ordered around by people he doesn't like, and wanting to break free and leave them. Now these lyrics tell us that Blade Wolf has successfully gotten away from the government and is finally free, most likely after we defeat him and he joins us. If you fought against Blade Wolf with any other boss music, it would make the fight lackluster, and in turn, part of his story boring. And if the story was boring, we wouldn't get gems like this.
Raiden, may I roll down my window?
No. Why?
I am assimilating myself into the role of a canine.
Let's look at another boss from the game, Senator Armstrong. Armstrong is running for president in the timeline of the story. He is also the main antagonist of the game. His corrupted views on life and country have fueled his ambition on starting a war with Pakistan, using it as a way to get elected, then shifting the world into chaos. During the fight against Armstrong, he tries to convince us that he's in the right and tries to compare himself and Raiden, treating this fight as more of a debate than a battle. Most likely because Raiden can barely harm him. Let's take a look at the lyrics. The song tells us that Armstrong sees violence as everlasting and inevitable. Let's look at a quote from Armstrong to better put the pieces together.
Using war as a business to get elected! So I can end war as a business. In my new America, people will die and kill for what they believe! Not for money, not for oil! Not for what they're told is right. Every man will be free to fight his own wars!
A quote directly from Armstrong, he's a borderline psychopath, seeing killing people as nothing. The speech he gives before you fight lets you know his plans, but the song that plays lets you know his truest feelings. This is something the game's soundtrack is very good at. The game does a good job of showing the villain's story with songs. But now let's look at the main character's theme. Raiden has a messed up past. He was turned into a child soldier when he was young and subjected to human experiments leading to his cyborg body. After killing so many enemy soldiers as a child, he was given the nickname Jack the Ripper. While playing the game, Raiden is in a normal state, but during the halfway point, Raiden snaps and lets Jack take over. You would think this theme would be something righteous, as he is the hero of the story, but if a spectator heard it, he would just think it's another villain. The whole game, Raiden is struggling with his sense of justice. He thinks of his sword as a tool of justice, not murder.
Not used in anger. Not used for vengeance.
So I'm leaving.
Let's take a look at Raiden's theme. With these starting lines, you can already see Jack the Ripper emerging from deep inside Raiden. These lines can symbolize Raiden losing control over himself and letting Jack take over, turning himself into the monster he once was. The line, "You should know a soul can't be cut," stands out to me. The song is made in a way that Raiden is saying the lines. But who could this line be directed at? I personally think that this last line is Jack, telling whoever he is fighting that his soul won't break, no matter how many times he gets laid on his ass. Jack will always come back, stronger than before. We've looked at the bosses and how the music helps you understand their motive and story, but how does the soundtrack help the gameplay of Revengeance? Well, Revengeance is a hack and slash, so there's always a lot of action. You're always chopping something up to little bits, or slicing robots in a clean 2 pieces. The soundtrack wonderfully complements the fast-moving gameplay. It helps hype you up and really gets you invested in your combat. And when you get knocked down, it makes you want to immediately get back up and try again, even if it's just to hear those sweet tunes one more time. The beauty of Revengeance's soundtrack is that, well, 1, it's amazing to listen to, and 2, the songs can be interpreted in so many different ways. The songs reveal so many hidden details of the story. I've said it before, but if the soundtrack was swapped out with some generic battle music, it would bring the enjoyment of the game down a significant amount. And most likely, we wouldn't have such a dedicated fan base as we do nowadays.
To an end. Yeah, this is what nature planned. Being tracked starving beast, looking for its daily feast. A predator on the verge of death, close to its last breath.